On Friday night, Venerable Chodron started the chapter on the Sangha, the monastic community. And she spoke about the role and the function of monasteries in this world, and sort of what a monastery is, how it functions. So I've been thinking about that, and I've been thinking about that before her teaching on Friday night, and really seeing how, on a superficial level, there are many similarities between what we do here and what everyone else is doing all over the world. But a monastery is different. And why is it different? It's different because we are training our minds to approach activities in a different way, really transforming how we relate to people and objects and situations and activities. And so I thought to share all of the kind of places and institutions that a monastery is not. So a monastery is not a church or a Dharma center. So superficially, we do religious ceremonies. We do bowing, praying, chanting, right? We have the Buddha Hall that we've just built. So in many ways, we do many activities similar to a church or a Dharma center in a city. But one of the big differences is at a monastery, we live here. So it's a place for monastics, monks and nuns, and lay people who are interested in this way of life to live. And so in that way, we function quite differently. And so I was thinking in terms of this, that it's really about transforming what we think about religion into a way of life. It's not just something we do on Sundays or on Saturdays or on Wednesday nights, but it's something we do every day, all day, from about 4:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. or later, 365 days a year. It's also not a home. It's not a family home. It's not a residence per se. And we get, it's very confusing to figure out what our buildings are classified as in terms of the building codes, because they function in many ways. They're not one thing. But we do live very intimately together. And one day I was thinking about this because I was folding someone's underwear. And I thought, I wouldn't fold anyone's underwear except my partner or maybe a family member, but not a stranger, not somebody I met 2 days ago, but it's my turn on the laundry rota, so I'm folding their underwear. We also, some of us, we have roommates, and so we're living quite closely together. But the difference is that we don't own this place as the individual monastics. We don't get to choose what room we sleep in, or necessarily what bed we sleep in, or who we are sleeping in the room with. We change rooms every year. So it's really about cultivating a mind of non-attachment, not being attached, not clinging to this is my room, this is my bed, and my favorite blanket or chair or whatever. And so that's very different from home life. The other difference is how we relate to one another. We're relating out of respect, out of consideration, and we're not related by blood. We're not related because of marriage. We're related because of the Dharma, because of the path we're taking in life. And we're also related through ordination. And so here we're really transforming what might be, attachment or ways of relating to people, where we're getting something for our own side. Of course, there's also love, but there's an intimacy. There's Yeah, it's very close. Venerable Chodron often talks about a sticky relationship. Romantic relationships, even special friendships are sticky, right? We don't want to part from them. But at a monastery, we're trying to cultivate true love in the Buddhist definition, which is wanting others to have happiness in its causes. So it has nothing to do with what we're getting out of this situation. So this is transforming how we relate to other people. We're not a restaurant, although people have asked us for our recipes. But we're really, we're aiming to eat to sustain our life. We have a 5-minute rule, so we only talk about food for 5 minutes. Of course, sometimes we go beyond that, and we have to remind each other that we're not a restaurant. We also have assigned seats, so we don't get to choose who we sit with. And this is really a practice of equanimity. And we also eat leftovers, which I hope they don't serve at a restaurant. We use the same bowls, at least the monastics do. So this is a practice of contentment, of equanimity. It's not a school, although we do learn and study, and we take teachings, and attendance is taken in the meditation hall. But we're not being graded. We're not here to compete with one another, who's going to get the best grade, although competition does come up. And I know personally it's something I really am trying to work with. But to remind myself that it's Dharma practice, any kind of spiritual practice, is what we're doing in our own mind. It's not something that can be graded by what we're doing externally. And also there's no graduation. Although you could say full awakening, Buddhahood is when you can stop learning, but until then we're a student, right? And also Venerable Chodron says that we're not teachers, we're sometimes temporarily in the role of a teacher. So this is really about going beyond the intellectual learning that we might get in school and really trying to embody what we learn, trying to take what we learn deeply into how we live. It's also not a workplace, although we do work a lot. We use computers, make phone calls, have meetings, manage databases and spreadsheets. But here we're really transforming how we look at work. Here we offer service. So what this means is we're offering our energy, our time, our effort. We're offering it to the 3 jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. We're offering it to all sentient beings by disseminating the Dharma freely, whoever wants to learn. And so this is not about a transaction, right? We're not doing something for 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day to get money, but rather it's really a practice to train our mind in a way of engaging in the world, really a mind of generosity, that we want to offer our time and energy. I've joked with some people that I have a background in theater, and I joked that this is sort of like living in a musical, where we sing before meals, and we have choreography, and there's fancy lights, and you could say this is a costume, and we have props and scripts and scores, and we have, choreography where we're told, walk here, bow, do this, especially in the ordination ceremony. We're walking this way, we're turning sharp right, going here, bowing. But all of this is not entertainment. It's not to kind of numb out or escape, but rather it's to become very mindful of what we're doing. So our robes remind us of the commitment we've made to our ethical conduct. Everything we see around us is a reminder of the good qualities that we want to develop. And finally, it's not an art museum, although the Buddha Hall will be full of beautiful art, paintings and tankas and statues. But this is beauty, but not beauty for beauty's sake, but beauty to inspire, to remind us, like we see the Kuan Yin statue and we circumambulate Kuan Yin and we're reminded of compassion, right? We see Nagarjuna and we're reminded of wisdom. So a monastery is very different from the rest of the world. And Venerable Chodron has said this about the people who live at a monastery or come to a monastery. She said, our primary purpose is to transform our minds. So all of this is for that purpose. So that's exactly what a monastery is. It is a place to transform our minds. We do many activities that we need to do. They're practical. But we really try to change how we think about them, to bring virtue into all of the actions we do, and to really cultivate beneficial and realistic ways of viewing others, ourselves, what we do. So let's transform our minds so that we can really develop monastic minds. And of course, we don't have to live in a monastery to develop a monastic mind, a mind that is doesn't cling as much, has more contentment, has more love and not attachment, has fortitude and patience, all of the good qualities we want to develop. So let's do that.